heard someone call this church mode when I get on the mic. You could go ahead and call it whatever you want. Because I know when I got a purpose, when I got passion, when there's something down on the inside of me that needs to come out, it's going to get let loose. I heard my God say that when he sends out a word, it will not come back void. I don't want to show up to heaven void, empty. I want to say I fought the good fight. I fought my battle. I did everything I could in this life, not only to help myself and to survive and to thrive, but to help the others coming behind me. See, some of us are in it just for the money, just for the cars, just for the namesake. I'm in this to help to make sure that the folks coming behind me, that path is widened, that the gap is bridged. Everything I stood up for, everything I lost, I'm gaining back in another dimension. Some people are so quick to judge you, but they're the last ones to hug you. They're so quick to criticize you, but they are the last ones to call you up on the phone and chop it up and break down what happened. I heard gossip is like tearing open a pillow and throwing out all the feathers on a football field and trying to collect them all. I heard it's all this scattered news. Go ahead, scandalize my name. Talk about me. That's fine, because I don't wrestle at night with what you think about me. I gotta make sure it's what I think about me, that I'm all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and affirm myself. I am a rock star. I am a podcaster. I am a public speaker. I am a leader. You better find your gusto and find it now, because tomorrow is definitely not promised. Welcome to the Rhetorical Sake. It's already got a Barack. It's already got a Kamala. What this world needs now is an ER hunter. I know that about myself. What we need is you. Everybody up here trying to be like everybody else. I can't just keep listening to the hip-hop. I can't keep listening to the pop music. I can't keep listening to the same country songs. I gotta write my own songs so I can sing my own songs. I got my own anthem that I gotta pronounce every day. Because unless you've seen what I've seen, unless you've felt what I've felt, unless you've tasted what I've tasted, unless you've been where I've been, unless you feel how I feel, then you will never know how it is to be me. And all I can do is express myself. So that's what I'm here to do. And I hope you share in that. My voice is my weapon. This is my strength. This is my rock and my sling. I may not be that big. I may not be that strong, but I know I can wield this thing. And if I throw it in just the right spot towards my giant, see, I'm gonna keep striking, because the doors will keep opening as long as I follow my purpose, my passion, my vocation. I can't have it be contingent on what others think about me. I can't have it be contingent on what's popular. See, I was never in this to be popular. I was never in this to be politically correct. I was never in this to conform. Some of y'all got it easy. Some of you born with the silver spoon. Some of you got the yellow brick road laid before you. I gotta find my path. I gotta wield a machete and break down the brush. And sometimes I gotta carry somebody on my back on the way up a volcano. I've done it. On the way down from a volcano, I've done it. We gotta trek through the mud, through the worms, through the fire ants, whatever it takes. But let me tell you something. We are gonna get home. Welcome to the Rhetorical Sake.
Welcome to it.
Woo, boy. I don't know if I've had too much coffee. Just ran 3.5 miles. I'm feeling all right today. Thank you guys for joining me. Welcome to the Rhetorical Sake podcast. This is another K.I.R. Keeping It Real episode. I want to give you a heads up. There is some explicit language. You know, I'm chopping it up with an old friend of mine, a good buddy. And he's a producer on a show a lot of us Americans tend to binge watch. That's TMZ. I went to college with him. He's always been a good, stable guy, but he's going through some things. He's facing something that thousands, millions of us have faced, are facing, and will face in this life. What I've determined from this interview, this episode, is that life does not discriminate. It doesn't matter how old you are, what your race is, how much money is in your bank account. I'm so grateful that Joey took the time to sit down and talk with me. And despite everything he's dealing with, despite his diagnosis, he's still working. He's still making time for friends. He's still doing what he's got to do here on this earth. So, once again, welcome to the show. You know I got to put a plug in for my books, my literature, my work, my art. God sent dog. That's the story about how my dog, Irie, sitting right here at my feet, inspired me to get sober for the first time in my life when I was 27 years old. I also have another book. Now, this book is in production to be published. You are going to see this book in bookstores. So, before the price goes up, before it's not as it's originally written because of editing and revising and all that, I would encourage you to hit up Amazon, Kindle, and check out Chasing God Alcoholically. This is something I wrote while in rehab, and I really wanted to dive into what it was like getting spiritual in early sobriety. Now, I'm not sitting up here with years and years of sobriety. I've gone in and out. I struggle. I'm not one of those that walked into some anonymous program and just got it and never drank again. That's not my story, and I'm all right with that. What I am not all right with is if I were to keep that experience to myself. So, there are groups in rehabs that actually have taken this literature and read it during group therapy sessions and break it down. I've heard that it's very poignant, it's very deep, and I am grateful. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to get this out there to the masses. So, you can get an original copy before this thing really picks up. And that's how I'm supporting myself. So I appreciate the support. If you want to donate to the cause, Extra Resources That Help, that's my organization. We produce the show. We hand out bottles of water to the homeless. It's just the little things that I can do within my reach. I got to wield that. I got to wield that tool, that weapon, that device, that talent, that gift. And so that's what I'm doing. Patreon.com/ERHunter. Once again, Patreon.com/ERHunter. You can also check me out at erhunter.live. That's erhunter.live. If you want to email me directly, go ahead and hit me up at earth, that's earth without the A, ERTH music at outlook.com. Once again, earthmusic at outlook.com. So, here we are with the interview with Joey Faratzis. I hope I said his name right. He pronounces it at the end of the interview, so stay tuned. But this is my buddy, like I mentioned. He's a producer on TMZ. He's been there for years. Born into television royalty, a dynasty of live production. It just courses through his veins. It's in his blood. So for him to take the time and talk to me and come on the show, that means the world to me. That's my heart right there. But this is probably one of the more poignant interviews I've ever done. I will say that. So if you're looking for some inspiration, but also something very relatable, this is the episode for you. So thank you for tuning in, and let's jump right into this thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Keeping It Real with Joey Faratzis.
Welcome to Earth.
Where have you been? The last time I saw you, was like at I think a bus stop between like the Palisades and, we were,
right? Where have I been? I've been in Santa Monica for a while, or I was in Santa Monica for a while. Lived there for probably about like 5 years or so, and then moved to Culver City, and I'm over in Palms right now, which is basically Culver City. I'm like right next door. It's kind of where Sony Studios is and all that stuff.
Right.
So
okay.
Moved over here, moved in with my girlfriend, and into a new place recently. So we're still kind of getting settled, but yeah, staying in the same area over here.
I went
trying to live it up, man.
I don't blame you. I was going to like a Krav Maga CrossFit studio over there right by Sony Studio, so I know exactly where you're talking about. It's like Venice Boulevard, and
exactly,
you ain't got to give your exact location. My bad.
My coordinate. Yeah.
Drop a pin.
That's right.
So, and you've been with TMZ for how long now?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. So for probably about 8 years or so now. I started there as a PA and have kind of worked my way up. Worked as in the technical department for a while. Worked as an associate producer. Worked as an assistant editor. Now as a producer on the live show, or TMZ Live on Fox every Monday through Friday. And yeah, I'm really blessed that I've been able to work from home though, with with all of COVID and everything, particularly with this illness. It's been a godsend that I've been able to work from home. So kind of all aligned somehow.
Thank you. So what's the role there now? Since you've worked up, you've gone through the trenches, and now you're just like you're set. Like you got people, you got an assistant or something. You got people asking
No,
you, can
no,
they
no,
take
it's
a
not like
bathroom
that.
break?
It's not
Okay.
like that. No. But I'm a producer on TMZ Live. There's a team of how many of us? Like 15 of us or so. So I work with our editors directly to cut down segments. We tape a long ass interview with somebody that's like 18 minutes long. We need to cut it down to like 6 minutes. So it's, determining how we're going to cut down the story. Work with our editors in the morning, pre-production, determining how we're going to cut a video or some surveillance video to be as compelling as possible, order graphics, stack rundowns, all that good stuff. So it's been an exciting time there, and my coworkers have really been awesome and had my back through all this nonsense as well. So I can't really say anything bad about them. They've been really good.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's awesome. Like that longevity, like that's proof in the pudding. And like
Absolutely.
you kind of come from a little television royalty.
Yeah, a little bit. My dad is a television producer. He's working on some PFL stuff right now, which is like the fighting league, kind of
Okay.
UFC-esque. I know my brother is in television as well. So
John, yeah.
Yeah, John is working on a whole slew of different things all over the place. So he's really kicking ass. Is basically an executive producer now, just knocking stuff out. So,
and I mean, your dad did a lot of the Super Bowls.
He's done some Super Bowls. He's got a few Emmys.
A few. I've seen that fireplace. I've seen that mantle.
He's got a couple. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. He's doing well. And still working though. So
good.
Never ends. The grind never ends.
It's like that live production kind of runs in your veins or something. I don't know.
That's it, man. That's it. That's something I've always been attracted to is the live television. Is the fast paced, think on your feet kind of thing. So
boy,
I'm glad
I would cry.
I'd still be working in it right now.
I worked in scripted at NBC and like
why is that?
It's just scripted was enough pressure for me as a writer's assistant and a PA. They're like, oh, we got 30 people coming in for auditions in like an hour. We're gonna need you to print off all their headshots off of Actors Access. I'm like, wait, what? Excuse me.
And go. Let it go.
It's my heart. I don't know, but that's awesome, man. It's so funny because when I think back of like how we met when I was a freshman, I was hanging out with like the juniors and seniors. So that's when I met John. And I think it was before Things But Later Days actually picked up for him. It was right before that, but I was just this like 18, 19-year-old hanging out with these guys. And then I went to Italy and I got back and I almost thought you were John. And then I was like,
we get mixed up every once in a while. It's either like, are you guys twins?
Yeah.
We're not twins, but we're definitely brothers.
I was like, there's two of them? Like John's got a little brother. So that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and so more recently, with all that, you're successful, you're working in television, you're doing the damn thing out in Los Angeles. And then you got this diagnosis about 2 years ago.
Yeah, the end of 2019. Found out, after went in for a colonoscopy because I was having some issues in my gut. I was having some abdominal pain, some bleeding when I would go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of really just put it off as, oh, maybe it's probably, hemorrhoids or, it's really what everybody always says is you're too young for anything to even really be an issue. So went to my internal, what was my internal doc? I'm trying to think. My primary care physician, whatever, went in. He thought everything was fine. It's no big deal. I'll refer you to a gastro. He also said the same thing. It's probably hemorrhoids, whatever. We can do a colonoscopy. The weird thing is, though, that I always felt like I knew that there was an issue. Like I felt like I knew I had cancer really before I found out the actual diagnosis. I think part of it was me just putting off like these symptoms that were continuing. I had the colonoscopy, found out that there was a mass in my rectum. And And when I woke up, they told me, we found this. It doesn't look good. It looks like it could be cancerous. We have to do biopsy and so forth. So they sent it off to pathology. And then a few days later, I got a call from the doctor saying, yep, it's a adenocarcinoma, which is a type of cancer. You're going to have surgery for it and everything. So from there, I started 5 weeks of daily oral chemotherapy and radiation treatments. So every day after work, I'd be going into the hospital, laying down. They actually give you like 3 pinpoint tattoos on your body. So they line you up on the CT machine or the radiation machine, same place every day. So I did that, 5 weeks of it, had the initial surgery, which is called a low interior resection, where they robotically go in 5 different arms and resect your rectum and get clear margins on each side. And then they divert your bowel to an ileostomy. So I had a temporary ileostomy, which is where you're basically shitting in a bag through your stomach. And that was really, really, really tough to deal with, to be honest with you, mentally and physically. Just the pain was like nonstop. Your body is not obviously used to having your insides cut in half and redirected through your stomach. So that was definitely a really tough time. Thankfully, though, after the site healed inside, they were able to reverse it. So I wasn't stuck with it forever, which was the silver lining.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of told, we got everything. Like, it's all good. You don't have to do any more chemo. Because they really initially thought it was just in that one spot that was all just localized. You're going to be able to cut it out after doing the radiation to shrink everything. And then I had a regular CT scan 3 months after that, and found that it had metastasized to 2 spots in my lungs and 4 spots in my liver. So, yeah.
So they did a CT scan on the whole body based off, just to make sure, or?
Yeah, so anytime somebody has cancer, they get diagnosed and treated, you are followed for 5 years or so. They really base everything on, like, they don't call you cured until you're, say, like 5 years out and you have no other evidence of disease. So this was a routine, like 3-month chest and pelvis CT scan, just to make sure that nothing had popped up. And I went in thinking like, oh yeah, like what? It's okay, yeah, no big deal. I know nothing is there. Based upon what my doctors told me, I was like, okay, yeah, no big deal. And then to get a call that, actually these spots showed up in your liver and your lungs. And then I was like, fuck, boom. I'm like right back into the cancer journey. So that's where we're at now. And just underwent, 6 rounds of full Fox chemotherapy. So intravenous chemotherapy this time. And I'm in a waiting period right now to have liver surgery, because they need to go in and burn out these spots in my liver, and then do another 6 treatments of chemotherapy afterwards, and hopefully get to a state of no evidence of disease, or what they call NED or whatever, and then hopefully stay that way forever. But the thing about stage 4 cancer is that it's in, once it spreads, it's in your blood, it's in your tissues, and it can really show up anywhere. So we'll hopefully treat this and pray that it never comes back. Although the likelihood of that is, fairly low. Don't want to get ahead of myself. After these first 6 rounds, I had a pretty good response, though. The spots in my lungs have disappeared.
Okay.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And the spots in my liver have shrunk, but still need to do more treatments. So that's kind of where we're at right now with this whole journey.
I'm very curious, like, do you think like a predisposition genetically, or is there any type of like cause? Like I'm bad, like I'm vaping, and
Well, that's funny. It's funny you say that. I haven't been told a reason why. Like, I had a ton of genetic testing done, and I'm not predisposed to genes. some, gene that would cause it. I think environmentally, I also vaped a lot for 3 years.
Really?
Not to scare you.
No, but I mean, there is no research out there on it. It's like,
But
I know
yeah.
I'm taking a risk every time.
Yeah. So, I mean, people would tell me that, although I don't think it was caused from that, because that could be a contributing factor, possibly. I think, diet and alcohol and past drug use and stuff could all definitely also play a part in it. I went through a period of time thinking, my past transgressions of these people, things that I've done in my life, am I, getting payback from, am I getting punished?
Like karma or something.
Yeah,
but
because of exactly. But I don't think it matters as much to me anymore of the cause of it, because it doesn't really get me anywhere when I go down that rabbit hole of like,
Gotcha.
Can I do this? Could have done it, but to answer your question more directly, no, I haven't been told that there was a specific reason as to why. I mean, 150,000 people or so a year get diagnosed with cancer. So I have a feeling, I'm sure a lot of environmental, whether it's a diet or smoking or this or that, could definitely have played a part in it, but I don't know for sure.
Because when you got diagnosed, you were what, 27, 28?
I was 29.
29,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they don't even, recommend getting colon cancer screenings until you're 50. So,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if there's anything to take from this, it's, if you think something is wrong in your body, if there's an issue, as adults now, your parents aren't going to make your doctor's appointment for you and tell you to go in. It's on you. So it's important for what I've learned, is that you have to jump on this shit and take it seriously. If you feel something wrong, you're probably right. So.
Yeah, man. Like I totally agree. The beginning of 2020, I had this pain in my chest, and I was going through a lot of like stress. So I just figured it was like anxiety, dealing with like new landlords. My building got bought out. They were trying to illegally evict me. And then when I didn't leave, I had like lug nuts mixing from my car wheel. So my wheel dismantled while I was driving. Just like a lot of like coincidental, mysterious stuff going on, and this big guy from Orange County is trying to force me out of, where I live. And so didn't get evicted, agreed to leave. And literally a week later after I left, there was the shutdown and moratorium on evictions and stuff. But regardless of that, in January, I was at work and I went to the dentist, and the dentist was terrible. Like the chair was like moving and she was like stabbing me. It was just the most painful thing. But I was trying to be an adult, even though nothing was wrong. I'm like, I haven't been to the dentist in a while. I got health insurance. Let me go take care of this. So the next day, it was like my body that night would not let me fall asleep. Like I kept having nightmares after nightmare. It was just like I could not go to sleep, and I had this pain in my chest. Went to work the next day, 2 days. All of a sudden I get in my car after work and I just like grab my shoulder, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta go to the ER. So I go to the ER, they do an EKG. And I ended up leaving because it was like when COVID was first popping off, and I was like, I don't want to wait in this waiting room anymore. I was like, can you guys call me if anything comes up? But clearly I'm all right. So I get to my house, and that was actually when I walked up to the door, there was the eviction notice on my door. And then I'm getting a phone call. They're like, you're having a heart attack. You need to come back to the ER. So I go to the ER, and they just immediately rushed me back. And like this beautiful, beautiful doctor, he's like sits down next to me, and I'm like, I've never had a doctor like pull up a chair, while I'm in the ER, and they're like taking off all my clothes. They're like strapping me up, like something's going on. And he's like, why? He's like, this makes no sense. He's like, why are you having a myocardial infarction? And so I was in the hospital for a week, and they ran all these tests, all these ultrasounds. The only thing they didn't do was an angiogram, which is where they'll go through my arm. And I actually need that because I still have the discomfort. For me, I'm not going to lie. Like when I got out the hospital that Friday, like, it's not like, okay, God, like, okay, life, like I'm going to change my ways. Like I went out and did some deplorable stuff because I was mad. I was so angry at like, why would this happen to me at such a young age? Like I'm supposed to live the rest of my life with a bad ticker. Right. And I was like, I was just like, you know what? F it, like balls to the wall. Like my life's falling apart anyway. I'm having a heart attack. Like might die at
Yeah.
any moment. Like, and so did you get that? And like this, even just last month, I got COVID. And like when I got COVID initially, I was so angry. I was so angry. It's so interesting to see people's reactions when they get diagnosed with something like that. Like my mom got it and she was very maudlin, like, you know, crying. Me, I was like angry. Like when I couldn't taste, I was like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah, that's
so
bad news.
I was wondering, like, what was the process like when you got the news? Like, were you angry? Were you sad? Were you upset? Were you scared? Like,
Right. Well, first off, I didn't know you went through that, so I'm sorry that you're dealing with all that, man. It's crazy to think, you know, as we're young in, you know, our 30s or late 20s, that we're kind of immune to medical problems or like serious health problems.
right.
So yeah, that's crazy, and I'm sorry that you're
No,
dealing
dude,
with that.
thank you.
When I initially found out, you know, waking up from the colonoscopy, I don't think it really set in of like the true impact of it. Although I had a different feeling, I think, when I was told like, okay, this is going to be treatable. We're going to be able to get this out and then you'll be okay. And granted, my bowel functions are not what they were before because you don't have, you know, part of your intestines. But going back to what you asked of how I felt, I was definitely scared. I went through a phase of, you know, mild depression, I would say, where I would come home every day and drink a bottle of wine and listen to music really loud in my apartment and be like, well, what the fuck am I going to do? You know? And then I think over time I got past that, a little bit more of an acceptance. And yeah, I went through, I've been angry. I've said, you know, I think I've been more angry recently because it's just like, I feel like things have just been stolen away from me in a sense, you know? But I try not to look at it like that because it, you know, I just end up getting upset. I get myself in this tiff of, you know, what's going to happen. I think the biggest issue for me is like, oh, you know, how do you plan for the future of when, you know, the 5-year survival rate for somebody with stage 4 cancer is like 14%. So I don't want to think of myself as like a statistic like that of like, you know, oh, well, I might not be here in 3 years or whatever. But I don't know. I've just got to keep trying to go through the motions of doing the treatments, taking my health into my own hands, trying to eat healthier.
Yeah.
You know, not vaping anymore. And not to say, you know, you can vape all you want, but yeah, it's been fucking scary. I've been angry. I've been really sad. Sad for my family members, sad for my girlfriend, you know, people that have to take care of me when I'm going through treatments and stuff. So there's a whole wide ranging, you know, emotions that I go through, but I feel like it's set in a little bit more. I've had more time to digest what's going on, which has made it a little bit easier. But yeah, it's still fucking wild that I wake up and I'm like, do I really have stage 4 cancer? I'm like, I really do. And, you know, weeks of chemotherapy are really, really bad sometimes. You know, everybody says, well, you know, there's good days and bad days, which is really true. There's good days and bad days. And it's, you know, it really sucks feeling like shit for 3 months in a row. You know, a cycle of chemo is every 2 weeks. So it's like, just as you start to feel better, you go in again and do it all over again.
So when you say feel like shit, like what is that like? Is it like no appetite? I remember my godmother, she had breast cancer, I mean, since I was like 10 or 9. And I found when we were at her house, she had chocolate. And so I opened up this little Hershey, like a miniature. And when I opened it, there were just teeth marks. It was her teeth marks because all she could do, that's all she could eat. That's all she could manage was just a little nibble. Like, so it just kind of blew my mind at how chemo like affects people. Like, what is it like? Like, what? How do you mean like feel like shit?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, you know, everybody, different cancers have different chemotherapies. Mine is called FOLFOX. which stands for, what I wrote it down, phelonic acid. It's fluorouracil and oxaliplatin and Avastin are the drugs that are in it. Names don't really matter, but it's called Fofox. I go in on a Monday, and then I get hooked up to my port, which is, they actually do in your arm these days, right here. It's called a passport. So they hook you up to the IV bags, and I'm there for about 6 hours or so of continuous infusion. And then they hook me up to a pump that continues to push 5-FU, which is another drug, for another 2 days. So I go home with it, and I'm attached to this freaking pump with an IV and then for another 2 days. Then I go back and get it removed on a Wednesday. So the first day isn't, the actual infusion day isn't as terrible because they pump you up with all these pre-drugs, anti-nausea stuff, steroids. It's really like the following days of after disconnect where your body is really, it's everything is, you know, really building up, and nausea, you know, thankfully I haven't puked, but I stay on top of my anti-nausea meds. A lot of gastro problems, whether it's being constipated and diarrhea. There's this thing called hand-foot syndrome where your hands get really, they start to peel on you. One of the side effects of this oxaliplatin drug, which is a platinum-based drug, is sensitivity to cold. So literally, like, touching anything cold feels like pins and needles in your fingers, and it's really weird sensation of pain, like with cold. So yeah, and just your mouth, like all your taste buds get all kind of fucked up. You don't want to drink water. So it makes sense, you know, you lose your appetite.
Yeah.
You don't want to eat anything. You don't want to really drink anything, but you know you need to continue to fuel your body. So it's a whole host of just overwhelmingly just feeling run down and fatigued and tired and nauseous, and you know, this neuropathy where these pins and needles and stuff. So, and it gets progressively worse as, you know, each cycle goes on. But I also need to be, you know, I'm thankful that people do have it worse than me. There's drugs that are harsher. And so I need to, you know, when I'm feeling bad, I need to, you know, try to take a step back. A lot of my hair has been thinning out recently. At least I still have my hair, but
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that's what you kind of, I guess that's what's you see on TV, so to speak, when you hear about people getting cancer. And then like, and I've noticed it's like every other TV show has got somebody with like cancer, or somebody's an alcoholic. Like I'm alcoholic. Like today I'm celebrating 30 days. Like, and I got COVID and I started detoxing on the same day.
Oh, damn.
But you know what? When you mentioned the blood, from, you know, passing a bowel movement or stool, like I was throwing up blood, and I mean, like that was enough for me. And like I've gone to the ER last 2019, like just bent over because I tore the lining off my stomach, drank so much, you know. So I get it, and like I also understand like that feeling of like with my chest waking up, and it's like, okay, I need to take my meds, and I might have to live the rest of my life like this. Like, I don't know if I'm just gonna die. Like, you know, like I can't. And so, I guess for me, like, okay, that was your experience. You know, that is your experience, what you're going through. Where do you find like the strength, like the mental clarity, you know, the centeredness? Is it, you know,
to just push through? You know, part of it is I have no other option than to continue doing treatments. I want to, you know, get strength from my girlfriend, you know, helping me and being there for me, and I get strength from my family, showing their support and caring for me. But you know, some days it's just like, man, this really, really sucks, and I don't have much motivation to be like, you know, I'm kicking this ad. We're still doing this. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I hear you.
I mean, there's some days where it's like, you know what, I'm like, fuck this. Like, I don't want to, you know, continue to do chemotherapy. Maybe I can just do, you know, heal myself holistically instead. I kind of go back and forth on, but I think I pull the most strength from just like, I want to live, I want to be here, and I'm going to, you know, try to do everything I can to make sure that happens. And at least where I'm at right now in the journey, you know, maybe that'll change over time. Like you were saying though, about like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to have to wake up every day and take pills every day of my life. And I'm kind of in the same mindset of like, you know, am I going to be on chemotherapy for the rest of my life?
Right,
am I going to, you know, where's the end to all these treatments? You know, because sure, you can get to this point of no evidence of the disease, which hopefully once they burn these spots out, we do another 3 months of chemotherapy, we get there, and then hopefully nothing ever pops up. But, you know, the likelihood of something coming back is pretty high. And so then that just means more treatments and treatments until treatments don't work anymore, and then trials. And, you know, I try to wrap my head around like, where's the end game? It was a lot easier in the beginning when I first got diagnosed, and I was like, okay, the end game is when they cut this shit out and I don't have the ileostomy anymore, I'm going to be a normal person again. But now it's kind of like, you know, what is the end game? There's not really an end game. So my way of dealing with that is just trying to focus on like just now, like what is the treatment we're doing today? What are we going to do today to enjoy ourselves with our loved ones and make the best out of now? Because, you know, the future isn't really guaranteed, not just for me, but for anybody. You know, we could walk out into the street and get hit by a fucking car tomorrow or something. And my dad tried to really remind me of that. He's like, you know, nothing is guaranteed in life. So although, you know, you think you're going to be turning 80 or whatever, I mean, realistically, me living for 10 years is like a really big feat, which is kind of scary to think of. Even 5 years, it's like, but I don't know. I want to still have hope there. I still have hope that treatments are working right now, and hopefully, you know, as new medicines come out, things progress even better. So I know that was kind of a long-winded answer to your
No, that's what we're here for. And I relate, because it's so funny you mentioned that, like what your dad was reminding you of, like we could walk out the door at any time and stuff happens. And, you know, like 2018, May 3rd, I had 5 months sober. I'd gone to rehab for like a year, like in and out. I was messed up, dude. And I like left this meeting at 7:00 at night, and at like by 7:09 p.m. I'm sitting at this stoplight, Bonita Canyon in Orange County, and boom, like just get rear-ended, like everything thrown across the intersection by a drunk driver driving a Jaguar. I'm like, I can't turn my neck. I'm looking in the side view mirror. This guy is just like out looking at his car, gets in his car and tries to leave. His car is totaled, so it breaks down up the street, like totally drunk. Doesn't come and check, you know, didn't even know who was in the car. So I'm like, thank God it was me and not some mom, you know, with her kids or something. You know, I tried to see it like that. But I get angry, like with the heart attack and that. And I'm like, why is life doing this to me? Like, I'm trying to be this good guy, and it's like every time I take, you know, 2 steps forward, it's like 5 steps back.
Bump you back.
But I'm trying to hone in on like, okay, well, that's my cross to bear. This is the journey. Like, this is, but it's, I guess maybe it's our generation or like social media, and I have had to recently like detach, because it makes me want to kirk out, because I compare myself to others.
Sure. I mean, I think that's the downfall of social media. You know, you're seeing all these people with their, and I can relate it, you know, people in their perfect lives. And I scroll through and I'm like, oh man, like you're so fucking lucky. You aren't sick and you're out having a great time. You don't have to worry about this, that, whatever. And I do this whole self-pity thing, which I'm trying to just not do. Like, it's not constructive. It's not at all. Do you ever think, I don't know, are you in the mindset of like everything happens for a reason? Are you one of those people?
Kinda. I've had so many, I say that my higher power, God, talks to me through coincidence. That's where I see it, because there's just certain things that just, I'm like, there's no way this is just happenstance. So everything, I don't think so. I don't think everything happens for a reason. But I think it can, it can be used, like it can be manipulated, just like yeah. So what are you getting at? What are you getting at?
No, I'm not getting at it. I mean, I'm just curious because I've tried to think in my own perspective as like, you know, what is the reason why, like, why do I have cancer? Why did I get cancer? Is there a bigger meaning to it? And I thought maybe initially the first time when I was diagnosed in 2019, I was like, okay, maybe this is like the wake up call that I needed to stop drinking so much and stop smoking and, you know, really cherishing the people in my life that I need to care about. Um, and I really thought that for a while. I was like, okay, maybe that's the real reason. But when it came back, that kind of shook it up. I'm like, well, now what the fuck does this mean? Like, why is this sense of like a death sentence put on me now? Is this kind of thing? So there wasn't one specific thing I was getting at. I'm just curious. You know, some people are always like, oh, 100%, like everything happens for a reason. But I would like to think like maybe things are teaching and learning lessons, but not for this at least. I don't know. I can't imagine why. I mean, it's the same thing as like, why do little kids get brain cancer? Like,
right. And you were totally reminding me, I meant to, there's two things. Yesterday, something told me to reach out to a guy I grew up down the street from, like less than like half a mile. We didn't go to the same high school because our high schools are like right on the county line or whatever. And he has a twin brother. Well, had a twin brother. And I didn't really know when, but we started to reconnect this year. And I saw on his Instagram that his brother had died because they were hosting like a memorial event. And I was like, oh crap, like his twin. And so when I researched it, you know, there was a traffic accident and with a big semi or dump truck. And they were able to stabilize him enough to where it says, you know, his family was able to be around him when he passed. And I really don't know what, you know, in me told me to reach out to this guy I know who lost his brother. And I said, hey, how are you doing? And he was like, you know, I'm all right. And I was like, well, you know, I know this is a hard time of year because his brother died like the day after Christmas in 2018, just suddenly. And he's like, yeah, well, the thing is like my birthday is tomorrow. I mean, their birthday is today. And so I was just trying to like relate with him and like be there for him. But it was that stark reminder that, you know, tomorrow is not promised. And I used to, the last couple of years, few years, just like be like, well, balls to the wall. Like, let's just get fucked up. Let's drink, let's smoke, let's party, because if it's not promised, like, why not? And then now I'm more so on this trajectory where I'm able to run over 5 miles, which I never used to be able to do. Like, you know, hitting like 7-8 miles is like, damn, like that's the life I've always dreamed of. You know, you can't tell, you know, it doesn't look like it right now, but our brother's on his way. But you know, and so I'm getting more out of that than like the fleeting benders and drinking and getting high, like just being more present. And I mean, it's not like running feels good, but it definitely, I don't know, it reminds me I'm alive. And like, I guess I'm just trying to put my heart to use while I still got it. But and then one thing, Miyoti, one of the last times we talked, it was so weird because we just started talking like every weekend for like hours. And when you were saying, you know, about when we brought up how people, you know, comparing ourselves to others, and a lot of the people like we run with, like, you know, you like where you come from, you know, television mogul, family producer, like you could be a total dick. Like you've never been like that. Like you're such a nice guy, you know? So that's why when well, we all can, but you're a good guy, you know? And so that's why when I'm seeing, you know, your social media and I'm like, wait, what? He was in the hospital for what? You know, I'm like, oh no, like I got to say something, you know, because it's like, yeah, if you were kind of this douchebag that's always like posting stuff, you know, or like that just made me sick
every second possible. I know.
Yeah. But Miyoti was telling me there's another guy, and I tell you his name after when we stop recording, but he's very well off, you know, semi celebrity status. And they were talking, and Miyoti was telling me, he's like, he complains. He's not complains, but he's going through the same thing you are. And I don't have like a lot of money in the bank, especially not after 2020. Thank God I started this podcast a couple of years ago because I'm able to prove like, hey, I got a small business or whatever. So that helped out. But he was telling me like that guy is saying the exact same thing you are. And so it's just like, is the grass greener on the other side? Like it's not, it's just grass, and we all get our lots in life. It's just like, it's easy for me to be like, why me with this? I mean, I'm Black. I've never been to jail. I'm open. I'm gay. Like, and you're telling me, I got to suck dick for the rest of my life and I can't have a fucking drink because I'm alcoholic. Like, are you kidding me right now?
Right.
But like, it took me a minute to come around, like to just not want to die, like to actually like be like, fuck this life, So
what was the switch for you to like changing your lifestyle? Was there one thing that happened that you're like, this is, I need to take action?
So like when I mentioned God talks to me in coincidences, one of my last benders, big ones, I went to Vegas. I took my dog to Vegas, packed up that Ford Explorer, and I stayed there for 2 days, and I left. And when I was there were like these women and they were wearing like flannels and cowboy boots and stuff. And like, they were flirting with me and stuff. And like their boyfriends were like, oh, you're her good luck charm and things like that. Like I had a great time. So I called the hotel. I was like, hey, you guys got the same rate, for another night. And they couldn't find anything for me that was in my range. So I ended up driving back to Orange County, October 1st. October 2nd, I wake up to the biggest mass shooting in Vegas. I left the day of that shooting and I wanted to stay another night. And a lot of those people I encountered with were there for that concert. I don't know if they're still around. There's things like that. They're just like, whoa. And like, I've never really been in love, like never really dated long-term outside of my last relationship in college. Like, no kids, I've lost my career in television while I stepped away, things like that. And so it's easy for me to be like, I guess I want to see these things come to fruition. I want to see my life. So when I am, finally reaching these goals with like running or, seeing that, oh my gosh, I do have a small business, like the government, these grants, these loans, like I'm getting validated. I at midnight, I signed New Year's, I signed a contract to get my first book I wrote in 2017 into production for publishing. That's what I wanted to do when the ball dropped. So things are coming together as long as I do the work and put it out there. It may not be like in my time. And like, it's just like losing Meoti was tough because out of everyone, these days with with people we run with our generation, it's not like we're sitting on the phone and talking to each other. And like the one guy that would sit on the phone and talk to me for hours died. And I'm like, really, really, like, this is my life, And so one of the last things he told me, he was like, you have a message to share. He's like, keep podcasting, keep writing. And so I just hold to that because I don't know. And like, I'm started therapy and I really like my therapist because it is talking about, he's teaching me how to live in the moment, not projecting into the future, not worrying about the past. And for me, it's the breaking the anxious thinking. So it's, validating, okay, I'm allowed to have this emotion, but I need to, he says, distract yourself. I don't like that, but it's more so do something right now. Stop thinking about
take
this.
action.
Yeah, like live right now. Like you're just thinking, you're in your head. Like that's the bad place for Eric. So yeah, dude, it's a trip. So there's my rant. Huh.
No, I got you. I didn't realize, really all this, I'm also terrible at keeping in contact with, old friends and close friends that I used to talk to all the time. And I don't think it's just you, I rarely talk to people on the phone anymore, and which is unfortunate because it's like, social interaction is such an important part of, human
Human
life,
nature. Yeah.
and human nature and stuff. And I think that's something I'm trying to like embrace a little bit more too, of like reaching out to people and accepting, social support from people. And particularly going through this diagnosis, and I posted this, photo on my Instagram, and I was like, hey, I'm done with my naive self thought I was all done with cancer treatments. And looking back on it, I'm like, I feel like a fool for posting that and being like, oh, we're all done. When in reality, I was like, didn't make it 3 months past that to, call myself, even though the doctors would be like, we have to wait to see if, 5 years from now is when you can consider yourself all good. But yeah, I'm not really sure where I was going with that, but it's just, I need to start accepting, I'm trying to accept like social support from other people more. I think I find it difficult sometimes too, when a million people reach out and it's like, oh, how are you doing? I'm like, well, I was trying to forget about it, but I'm doing good. But I talk to some people in support groups that I go to, and they're like, I wish I had one person that would reach out to me. And I'm like, you know what? That's true. I need to be thankful for people that care about you and are asking and how things are going. There's some people that have nobody.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just switching that mindset of accepting other social support as well for me.
Yeah. So it's tough. I mean, just getting a little vulnerable, like, and letting people in, and it's just like, do you really care about me? Or because that's how I felt. I'm like, I hope he doesn't think like I'm trying to patronize him. But when I think back of like our friendship, like you were just always a positive influence in my life. So it's like to see somebody like I care about and I appreciate going through something like that. I'm like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't somebody else get cancer?
Yeah.
Because I got a list of folks. I think
Yeah. No, I feel you, and no, I appreciate you reaching out to me and checking in and stuff. It's nice to know that there's people that do care, besides my immediate family and stuff. So it's been a shit show of a journey already, and which is only going to continue. It's like this is kind of a nonstop thing. I'm happy to have the little break I have right now in between, chemo treatments before surgery, and then more after that. And it's like, man, I wish I would have acted initially when I knew something was wrong or thought something was wrong, and listened to my body initially when I knew there was an issue instead of putting it off. And I probably wouldn't be in this situation where I'm at now, which I beat myself up over every once in a while. Like, damn, Joe, you could have completely gotten past this real easily if you went in earlier. But hindsight's 2020. Obviously, like what are you gonna do about it now? So
yeah, like somebody told me, this lady that has nursed me back to life in detox several times. She's like, put the bat down and stop beating yourself up. And so that always stuck with me. But do you? I know thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I want to ask, do you believe in God? Is there a spiritual thing? Like, has this framed any type of, I don't know how to say, metaphysical, transcendental belief system at all? Like, or you just seem like very real, like down to earth, like objective, like not a bunch of woo-woo.
Yeah, I think I identify myself as Christian. I believe that there's a God, there's a higher being. I think there's something that started all this, it created us. Do I believe that everything in the Bible written is true? No, I don't believe that. Right. So I don't really pray all too much. I've been trying to more open myself up to it. We went to a Christian school. I used to go to church all the time. And my parents, are both Christian. And I guess the easy answer to it is yes, I believe in a God. I don't necessarily believe in the, Greek Orthodox. Well, I was raised up Greek Orthodox, but like every little thing that they say is true. But there's got to be something, out there that created all this, that started this. I don't know. For some some reason, right? Unless I believe there's a big bang, but there's also got to be some kind of, fucking creator of all this. I don't know. This is definitely, going through this has made me rethink, about my beliefs and everything of like, well, what happens when you die? Do you go to heaven? Are you transcended into, do you see everybody that's passed on before you? And so I'm not really sure. I believe that there's an afterlife, a heaven. I don't necessarily believe in a hell that people go burn in a fiery dish for their sins.
Right.
I don't know, but I believe in an afterlife. I believe in a God. I mean, I sure hope so.
I'm with you on that, dude. For me, I'm sold. I had this experience on Halloween when I was in 7th grade, and I was just like kind of napping before I really had to get up and go to school. And I had this crazy dream where I'm riding in the backseat of my parents' car, and then I see like 3 crosses in the sky. And then all of a sudden I'm like blink and I feel my body getting like projected, like excelling through the sky. And there's like pieces of me falling off, and it's like clay, like hard clay, like just breaking. And then I hear like chains falling off, and I like arrive at this really bright place, and I felt no pain. I felt no worries. I wasn't worried about anybody I left. I wasn't worried about anybody. Like just the most ecstatic feeling I've ever felt. And it's indescribable. And it's just like somebody stepped in front of me and like shook their head, and they said no. And I woke up, it felt like I just like fell back onto my bed. And it was really weird because the clock said like the same time before I had like closed my eyes again. And I was stone cold, like I was shook like for a good day.
I
And
bet, yeah, I would be too. Sure.
I just prayed to God. I was like, please don't ever do that again, because it wasn't that it didn't feel good. It was the coming back part. And so for me, I'm grateful for that experience, because beyond a shadow of a doubt in my mind, I feel like my God, my higher power gave me that, so that all this stuff that I go through, or I put myself through or whatever, I know that in the end for me, it's all going to be all right. It's all going to be all right. And
right.
Yeah, so it's hard to explain that to people because I sound fucking crazy. So
no, I don't think so. I mean, I've listened to quite a few different people explaining near-death experiences that all have similar feelings of they were, taken away and that they didn't want to come back to their body. They're like, no, I don't want to go back to that because it's so pure and bliss and pure love, and there's no anxiety and all that stuff. And listening to some of these like near-death experiences, as weird as it sounds, some of them are from highly respected medical doctors and psychologists and stuff. So it's not just like some random dude on the side of the road. But I think some of that kind of gives, listening to those stories and like what you just explained, kind of gives me a little bit of comfort knowing like, okay, well, maybe after this, like it's all going to be okay. Like it is all going to be all good. And maybe this is all just a learning lesson for our souls, this physical experience. I think we're all just, spiritual beings having a physical experience right now. And and yeah, I don't know. It's odd to talk about because nobody ever really opens up about like their belief systems with that. But that's from what I can glean, that's what I think. I don't know.
I hear you. And I think for me, what I've gotten from sobriety and like doing anonymous programs is that understanding that, yeah, initially I am a human being or a spiritual being having a human experience. But when I am sobering up and actually living, I feel like I'm a spiritual being having a spiritual experience just here on this plane. Like it's something that's really connecting. There was something else I wanted to mention to you, but yeah, dude. And it's wild. Like, I don't know if you listen to this show some more, I have like a series on here called Straight Shook, where I talk about like all these like paranormal encounters, but I'm going to kind of change it up to more of these spiritual experiences, because even after Mioti's death, when I started detoxing, I have not shared this on the show. I haven't really shared this with anybody, but all right, because I'm gonna make it a whole episode. I think I want to write a book, but I was hearing like singing, like this angelic singing, like masses of people, choirs, like every like 10 to 15 minutes. And it was the way these voices were singing is not how somebody could sing on earth. And so it was, to me, it sounded like angels. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but I know I'm having hallucinations from drinking too much too. But why would my hallucinations be angels singing?
Angel singing. Yeah, that is
Like,
that's
well,
an awesome experience though. I mean, did it make you feel like, was it a good feeling, or was it more like an anxious, like, why am I hearing this out of nowhere?
well, at first it was like, it was scary because I never had audible hallucinations. I've had visual, and it's been like very murky. And it's like, if you want to trip, like get addicted to alcohol and then detox. Like I've tried shrooms and acid, and I've never tripped harder than when I was coming off
Right.
booze. But I just, I started hearing, it sounded like there was like a meeting going on in my room that morning. And it sounded like these like deeper voices and then these like nicer voices. And it was like they were like having a conference about like what to do with him. Like, I don't know if it was like angels or something debating on like, just let him die, just let him go, like let him, you know, or it's like, no, he's still got potential. And then like outside, I kept looking outside and I'm like, what is that? And then it slowly, and then I started cleaning the house throughout the day, and around like noon or noon 30, in the middle of the house, this really loud like woman started singing like Whitney Houston and Adele and Christina Aguilera all mixed together. And she was like saying, hold on, stay strong, don't give up, like all these things. And this choir behind her, and like her runs were just insane. And something told me like, this is what Miyoti is hearing. Like, this is like the courts of heaven. This is what it's like to party, you know? And so later that evening, it kind of died down once my aunt got home, and I went upstairs to my room, and I was like, I'm not going to be scared. I'm not going to turn on the lights. Like, I know all this is in my head. And I heard it sounded like somebody was calling my name, and I'm like, what? And then it's like, hi, hi. And I was like, what? And it sounded like Miyoti. And it sounded like he was saying, I'm happy. I'm happy. Like, don't worry about me. I'm happy. Right. And it kept going even when I went back downstairs. And I felt like he was telling me, I'm happy that you are deciding to get your life together. I'm happy that you are going to live sober. Because actually, like, Miyoti kind of scoffed at AA and stuff like that. He was like, oh, yeah, you're just exchanging one addiction for another and stuff. So that's a stark reminder. And then there's like things like, I had this dream a couple of years ago where I kept dying. I was in the same place, like Pepperdine Library, it looked like, where you can see the ocean.
Dying and pacing.
Oh, well, dude, I would see PV blow up and this huge explosion would come, and then, or like this big black guy with all these chains would like grab me, and I just kept dying over and over. So I asked this girl in the dream, like, what is this place? She was like, oh, you don't know? She's like, this is where you go when you're not grateful. And so that also woke me up, and I'm like, okay, like, I don't believe in hell. I believe that there is like, for me, personal, like, if I don't start living my life like I'm grateful for every day and stop being a drunk asshole and drinking to oblivion and wasting each and every day, then it's just like, maybe get stuck in a place like that. But I need those stark reminders. Maybe it's just my body and my subconscious telling me, stop doing this to yourself because you know better. And so it's like, it's hard to weigh like all these like things when your mind is kind of messed up, you know. Is it spiritual?
Maybe those, you know, were those were signs that ultimately helped you get to the point you're at now. So I think that's great. I mean, you know, a lot of people go through struggles with addiction, and you know, I had my fair share of problems with addiction as well, and finally got out of it. But I feel for you. You know, it's no joke when you're in the trenches of it, trying to dig your way out and become, you know, a normal freaking person again, because that shit's tough. And I applaud you for, you know, getting help and, moving through with that. It's not easy to do. So.
I applaud you for keeping your head on straight and like, just doing what you got to do. Because I don't know if I would be handling all this like you are. You're going through this with some grace, my friend.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, the thing is, it's like in a sense, it's like, well, what else can I do? It's like I could just not do treatment and fucking die in a year, or it's like you got to just power through and try to continue to be a normal person. And yeah, I mean, maybe some of it too is like it hasn't really fully sunk in yet. I'm not sure if it ever really will sink in, but
yeah,
that's just the new normal, unfortunately. But
well, I don't think it needs to. I think I'm gonna trust and believe. You're young. You're putting doing everything you got to do, taking the steps in the right direction. You're strong enough to endure the treatment. It's exemplary, and that's why I wanted to ask you to come on the show, because it's so easy to get distracted with everything that we see on social media and kind of forget how fragile and precious this time that we have is. So
absolutely. And I definitely took my health for granted. I think a lot of people take their health for granted. Like waking up from that first surgery with a tube out my side, a catheter, and my intestines out of my stomach. I'm like, couldn't barely roll over. I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own. And I'm like, man, I used to wake up every day just like, going to the bathroom is no problem. Taking a pee is no problem. Taking a shit is no problem, until like it is a problem. And then you're like, you take all that, or at least I used to take it for granted. And I think it's important for people to realize that, when you're in good health, that you take advantage of your good health and take care of yourself. Because once you're sick, you're like, oh man, it's fucking over. So, damn.
Well,
it's been a while.
Over yet.
It's been a whole freaking thing. And the thing is, I feel like it's just kind of begun, and there's still a lot, I think, ahead of me. I'm trying to be thankful for the small victories along the way, of like these lung nodules that have disappeared for now, so I don't have to have lung surgery now, at least. And just trying to stay positive with it. As stupid as much as I hate when people say that to me, stay positive. Yeah, just stay like, no fucking shit, I'm gonna try to stay positive. But it's difficult to be positive when you're sick for 3 months in a row. But yeah, I'm not trying to complain. It's just that's
the reality,
the feeling of it.
Yeah. Dang, dude. Well, all right. In closing, COVID. Now, are you on high alert to keep yourself obviously is the immune system kind of
compromised a little bit? I think it's bounced back a bit now, since I've been off treatments for about a month now. But my girlfriend and I, we both try to be careful. Granted, everything's closed down now, but I still go to the grocery store and I'll, get my shit and get out of there. But I take precautions of not being super close to people, just like everybody, I think, is trying to do, and wash my hands a lot. It's not like I do extra crazy stuff. I think it's the normal, like, stay away from people, wash your hands, and hope for the best. We don't really hang out with anybody except for a few friends that we see maybe like once a month or something. But besides that, man, it's trying, fingers crossed, not to come across it, and hopefully get the vaccine by the time it's available to everybody. And I don't know, it sucks. The whole cancer on top of COVID is like extra isolation.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But it is what it is right now. It's the reality for a lot of people. So just trying to take it in stride.
Thanks, dude. Well, you're doing it, man. You're doing it. And I'm here for you. You got my full support, and I really appreciate you now, dude. Just sharing your journey, man. And I just look forward to hearing the victory speech,
Yeah,
and
right.
That'll be ongoing.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the small victories along the way. Hopefully, I'll keep you posted in suspense until the next
episode,
the next scan or something. But
is this? Are you on the show like during the day?
TMZ? No, I'm
Okay.
fully behind the scenes, producer behind. Yeah, I'm never on camera. And
Is this like a TMZ camera though that you're on, like for work?
like right now?
Yeah.
No, this is just my MacBook Pro.
Oh, okay, cool. You look like you were like one of those boxes on the TV, but like.
No. just the regular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for stepping into the makeshift studio here / dressing room. But dude, yeah, thank you so much for just sharing that. It's actually just really great to just catch up, over old times and new times. But
No, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks
probably,
for inviting me.
No, for sure, dude. This is probably one of the most poignant episode or interview I've ever had. So thank you.
I got you.
Yeah, man. Cool. Well, I appreciate it. I'm gonna cut this thing off, and then we could just say our goodbyes. But all right.
All right, so there you have it. Keeping it real with Joey. Man, that was one hell of an interview. Let me tell you something. That's gonna stick with me for a while. In any case, I hope you got something encouraging, motivational, inspirational, and also enlightening out of that. Thank you so much for tuning in once again to the Rhetorical Sake podcast. We got another interview coming up. Some more music, some more singing, some more dancing, and actually a couple more books as well. I'm so grateful for each and every one of your listens. Go ahead, subscribe, rate, review, share this show if you like what you hear. We're international, y'all. It's all over the globe. I'm telling you, I can see the numbers, I see the maps, the stats, and it's really humbling. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing as long as I'm on this earth. Well, hopefully keep improving as well. And I think I'll add a couple new things. In any case, it's 2021. We made it this far, and that's too far to turn back now. Let's get it. I'll see y'all next time. Ciao. Mwah.